Hello and welcome to Nana's Crafty Home. My name is Tanya. Today's tutorial is going to show you how to crochet the Lavender Garden corner to corner scarf. You can find this free written pattern on my website. I have a link below in the description if you're interested in checking that out. This scarf is made with a corner to corner method. It's actually made with the traditional double crochet corner to corner method, but we're skipping every other row, these blocks, which gives it this open look. But the essentials of our corner to corner pattern are there. This is a one skein project, and I am using Yarnspiration's Karen Cotton Cakes for this pattern. You will use a whole ball of yarn to create this scarf. This is a cotton acrylic blend, 60% cotton, 40% acrylic, medium 4 weight yarn. And for my scarf here, I used the Lavender Fields colorway. This is the Blush and Bloom. This is one of my favorite colors. Unfortunately, I think discontinued now, but I happened to have one still on hand. For today's tutorial, I'm actually going to be using a different color in one of the older sizes. So this is when it first came out all those years ago. It came in a smaller package, smaller yardage. If you're going to be substituting another yarn, I did use approximately 530, the whole large skein, so 530 yards, 250 grams. This pattern ends up creating an asymmetrical shape. This is not going to be a true triangle. So you can see here I have a diagram of the finished sizes. We start here in this corner, and you know with traditional corner to corner, you start in the corner and you work your way kind of in a diagonal. Well, typically when you're working a regular double crochet corner to corner project, you're creating a square until you start to decrease on one side. And you can decrease on one side, increase on the other to create a rectangle shape. But if you decrease on both sides at the same time, you're going to have a square. Well, this project will give you an asymmetrical shape. So what ends up happening is it grows taller faster than it does in width. So my finished size here was 50 inches tall, 38.5 inches wide, and then 60-inch span. So if you're making this stitch pattern into a blanket, you're just going to need to allow for the fact that your height is going to be taller than your width, and if you want a square shape, you're going to have to make an allowance. So that way, what that means is you're going to have to stop sooner, or stop when you get to the height, stop increasing on this side, and continue increasing the width until you get to the same measurement as your height. And then you can start decreasing on this side as well, closing in that square. Of course, you may just want a rectangle blanket, which would be just fine as well. But I just want to give you the particulars of this stitch so that you know what to expect when you're working it. You're also going to need a size H, or a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook, which corresponds to the yarn weight that I'm using for this pattern. So we're going to go ahead with a slip knot, get our yarn on our hook, and chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as I mentioned in the introduction, this is a standard double crochet corner to corner method. So we're going to be working this first block just as we normally would, double crocheting in that 4th chain from the hook, and then in each chain to the end. So that will be referred to as a block, and I will be referring to it as that throughout this pattern. So I finished row 1 and created my first block. And I'm going to begin on row 2 by chaining 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook and in each chain to the end. And this is the first block of row 2. My ends of each row are going to be the same as they would be for increasing in corner to corner crochet for every row. So now I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 to secure it to block 1 from row 1, and then chain 3 and then 3 double crochet in that chain 3 space. If you're needing more help with the corner to corner double crochet method, I will have a link below in the description for you, because I'm kind of working this video as if you have some knowledge of the corner to corner method already. If you're having any problems, I would recommend checking that video out first. So row 2 is completed. I have 2 blocks. So row 3, I'm going to chain 6, just as I normally would, double crocheting in that 4th chain from the hook and in each chain to the end. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 from that previous block I just made to secure it. And now I'm going to be creating my first space. So I'm going to be skipping. If we were working the traditional corner to corner double crochet method, I would work another chain 3 and 3 double crochets in that chain 3 space. But I want to skip over this block. I don't want to work that block. So I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to skip over that block and I'm going to work a slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 from that block, that last block of the previous row. And then I'm going to work chain 3 and 3 double crochets in that chain 3 space. So then for row 4, my increase, just as I do for every row, chaining 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook and in each chain to the end. And now I'm going to be working a row of regular double crochet blocks. I'm going to be working a solid row. So I've slip stitched to the top of that chain 3 from that previous block, chaining 3 and working 3 double crochets in that chain 3 space. And now I'm at that chain 5 where I skipped that block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into that 3rd chain over. So 3rd chain over, slip stitch. Chaining 3, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to work 3 double crochets in that chain 3 space. So 1, 2, and really you could call that a chain 5 space because that is the chain 5, but you're treating it the same as you would any chain 3 space. And we're just working 3 double crochets into it and then slip stitching to the top of that chain 3 from that next block, chaining 3 and working 3 double crochets into that chain 3 space. So you can see once I've completed row 4, it's created this open space in that pattern. So then for row 5, I work my increase just as I normally would, chaining 6, double crochet in that 4th chain from the hook and in each chain to the end. Slip stitching into that chain 3 from that previous block, and I'm going to want to create another row of open spaces. So I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, skip over that block and slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 from the next block, chaining 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 from the next block, chaining 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, slip stitching into the top of that chain 3 from the last block, and then working that last block as I do for every end, chaining 3 and 3 double crochets in that chain 3 space. So what I end up with for row 5 is a standard block on both ends and then 3 chain 5 spaces in between. So for row 6, an increase just like I normally would by chaining 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Working a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and double crochet in each of the remaining chains. Now I'm going to be working a regular row of double crochet blocks. So slip stitching to the top of that chain 3, chaining 3, working 3 double crochets in that chain 3 space, and I'm going to slip stitch in that 3rd chain over in that chain 5, chaining 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then 3 double crochets in that chain 5 space. Slip stitch into that 3rd chain over, chaining 3, and then 3 double crochets in that chain 5 space. Slip stitch into that 3rd chain over, chaining 3, and 3 double crochets in that chain 5 space. Slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 from that last block, chain 3, and 3 double crochets in that chain 3 space. So that last row I worked is the right side. The right side of your work is going to be the right side of your double crochet blocks. The wrong side is going to be the back side of those double crochet blocks. So you can already see just with those 6 rows that it's already taller than it is wider. So you can already see that that's going to continue happening throughout this pattern. So this is a 2-row repeat. We're just going to be repeating rows 5 and 6 until you get to the size desired. For my pattern, I worked through row 63 in order to get to the size, and really toward the end of my ball of yarn. You may run out sooner, you may have more than I did. Some of that can vary from skein to skein, but you're just going to be repeating rows 5 and 6, one row of open blocks and then coming back and filling in with one row of solid blocks and continuing that on throughout your pattern. When you end, so the last row you're going to want to repeat is a row 5 before you go on to the last row of your scarf. So we're going to be working a row 5, which is the chain 5 spaces, and then we will finish our scarf. So I'm going to do one more row of those chain 5s, and then I'm going to show you my last row. So after ending on a row 5 repeat, you can see here I have my chain 5s bases here. We're going to finish off our scarf. So we're going to turn and we're going to slip stitch into those next 2 stitches, the tops of those double crochets, and then slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. And then I'm going to chain 1 and work 2 single crochets in that chain 3 space. Now I'm going to be working into these chain 5 spaces, and I'm going to work 4 single crochets in each chain 5 space. So 4 single crochets there, working in the next chain 5 space, work 4 single crochets. Next chain 5 space, 4 single crochets. Four single crochets in the next. 4 single crochets in the next. Now I'm going to work in the top of these double crochets, working a single crochet in each stitch. So after I've single crocheted in the top of those double crochets, I'm going to work 2 single crochets into that chain 3 space there at the end, and then I'm ready to fasten off, and I've completed my scarf. I hope you found this tutorial helpful today. Thank you so much for being with me. As always, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a new video. You can find all of my free patterns and tutorials at nanascraftyhome.com. I love to hear from my readers, and you can reach me by email at nanascraftyhome@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share so that my content can reach others as well. I really appreciate your support. Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.